Oh my God, we're alive.
We are. Welcome to the HSR Nerdcast, where health, stamina, regen is as important to us as it is to you. Sorry for the delay in a whole stream. I totally forgot that I was going away for the weekend on the weekend that we were supposed to stream. So sorry. Shit happens, I
Fault,
guess.
man. It's all your fault, man.
Yeah, I know. But
Okay, can I start this off with an important message?
sure.
Everybody remember to stay hydrated. Water is your lifeblood.
No, blood is my blood.
Oh.
I need the blood of my enemies, not water.
I didn't realize how full my cup was and totally just made a mess.
Oh boy.
So
Your cup overflowing, as they say.
No, I just tilted it too far, and
Uh,
it's fine.
so everyone, there's been some crazy talk in the tech world last couple of weeks. So who wants to start?
Yeah, Intel not making their 7 nanometer process until 2022, 2023.
On top of that, there's been talks that they might be pulling out of the chip race.
Interesting.
Boy.
Yep.
All right. Well, all that stuff is
Apple
way more
moving to
interesting.
ARM.
What was that? Simmons?
Apple moving to ARM away from Intel.
Yep. And on that same note, Nvidia made a play to buy ARM yesterday.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
That is. Wow.
there is some
Yeah.
power moves happening in
2020
the chip
strikes
game.
again.
Oh, wow.
Crazy stuff going on in the IT world.
I do know that when Intel announced that they were delayed until 2022, 2023, AMD's stock went up like 15 to 20
Yep.
points.
And Intel's actually dropped about 10%, I think.
Ow.
Yeah, it was a massive hit for them to delay that chip. It's absolutely incredible. Like, come on, Intel. You were the king
Considering
of the world. How have you not been able to do this yet?
They're trying
I
to
don't
do
have
it
any
themselves.
understanding of how chips are made, but
They're trying to do it themselves. AMD is relying on TSMC. TSMC is not only making AMD's chips, but they're also making a whole bunch of other chips.
okay.
They have an established process for doing so, and they know how they have that process that works, and they're able to then produce the chips. But the discussion about like nanometers, like this,
Yep.
like distance between transistors, is kind of an arbitrary thing. Like it doesn't actually mean anything, and there's an argument that should be said that goes to how densely packed the silicon is versus the size of the gap.
Right. That makes sense. But technically, the smaller the nanometer, the more densely packed you can get, right?
It all depends on how it's measured.
Okay.
That's a lot of the problem with that is if you go density, how many transistors can you get into a given area versus the spacing between them, kind of thing. So if you can get a trillion transistors into a centimeter by centimeter area,
Right.
and that's clearly more a denser system than one that can only get a half that into the same space.
So one of the things that you mentioned earlier was that AMD uses TSMC to develop their chips, right?
Not necessarily to develop them, but at
Or-
least to manufacture them.
Right. So Intel actually looked at that route, and looks like they had to abandon that idea just because of all the extra infrastructure that TSMC would have to develop just to manufacture their chips, and they weren't interested.
Ooh, man. So
It's
Intel's
like-
positioned themselves that like nobody wants
They're
to take
kind of
on their
stuck.
stuff.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's what you get for doing that proprietary stuff, right? Like it's great and all when you can take care of it and you're ahead of the game and it's your proprietary stuff and you can bang it out. It's great, but as soon as you start falling behind,
Like what happened to Apple what a decade ago when they switched
that
to
was,
using Intel?
Yeah.
They
Well,
stopped
before
being able to
that was
produce better.
Motorola processors they were using.
Yeah.
And the reason they got away from that is the Intel technologies have surpassed PowerPC significantly, but the Motorola processors were like 4 times the cost to actually manufacture and took like twice as long.
Oh wow.
Yep, it was so expensive the way they had to develop those chips versus what Intel had. So that's why Motorola's out of the processor game.
Sounds like Intel's about to be too.
Yeah.
Yep, which really sucks because unless ARM can really like pull ahead, then we'll just be left with AMD, and I don't want AMD to get stagnant. Because
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
This whole like they finally come and gotten ahead in the game has been great. It's been awesome for prices, but if they become the only manufacturer for PCs, well then all of a sudden our costs are going to skyrocket again because they can just do the Nvidia thing and be like, hey, we have all these different SKUs and we can charge whatever we want because we have no competition.
Yeah, exactly.
And you plebs are gonna buy it.
Well,
Unfortunately.
So transitioning from that to all the ridiculous different SKUs that Nvidia has, AMD has now done that with their processors.
They have.
oof.
They have. They packed so many different processors into this generation.
Yep, but they've released their first set of 4000 series APUs. Hickey, you want to go on that topic?
I mean, you just can't buy them.
Well, not only
Hashtag
that,
enough said. It's bad,
not
man.
only
It's
that,
bad.
they are listed as the 4000 family. They are available only to pre-built manufacturers.
Specifically, Dell and HP.
Yes, they are APUs advertising that they have the same gaming as their high-end Ryzen video cards built into an APU, but they're still Zen 2 with a 4000 series tag. Can we get any more confusing?
Yeah,
I
that's.
think we could, but the thing that like, I just don't.
On the end
I
of
don't
that
get.
2, on that Zen 2, how many pluses are on the end of it?
None. No pluses at the end of Zen 2. Zen 1 had a plus.
I think
Which was the
Intel is on the
2000
14
series.
nanometer at 14 nanometer plus.
14 nanometer they came out with in 2014.
And they've added a plus ever since.
Mm-hmm.
So it's at least
The
6
really-
pluses.
Yes.
The crazy thing is they released them all with the 35 watt and 65 watt.
Yep.
So they're duplicating it, basically.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you have like the 4700G, which is a 65 watt, but you have the GE version, which is the 35 watt.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
Jesus.
super confusing. Super
That's
confusing.
that's one thing about like that's one thing I that has always driven me towards Intel stuff versus AMD stuff is the naming conventions up until recently were super confusing when it comes to certain things.
One might say esoteric.
Yeah. Well,
even Intel was confusing because you had the K, you had like the E, you
But
had to
the-
know what the last letter on each thing meant.
This is true.
that's true. But like until the
This is the most
Ryzen,
expensive letter to
yeah.
put in anything.
because like even until the Ryzen series chips, you know, AMD was all over the board with their naming conventions, where Intel had it you know, way
You can look at
earlier.
just the number and have an
i3,
idea of where it's
i5,
slotted into
i7. Yeah, exactly. You're like, all right, well, you know, I can get away with an i5, you know, a higher end i5 versus, you know, or, you know, a low end i7 and have, yeah, I'm spending some money, but it, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not too bad. You know, an exception for, you know, when you looked at AMD back then, and you're like, it's, you know, it's you know, an HK, you know, 100, you know, 7 TT or what, you know, just arbitrary lettering. You know, it's like, what does that mean? How does that stack up any different than this, you know, the processor that are, you know, you had to wait. You really had to, if you wanted to go AMD, you really had to wait for, you know, a large tech, like a Linus Tech Tips or somebody like that to go through and do the testing on said chips to know exactly, all right, this is the one I want to buy.
Also, like back in the day, you really only went AMD processors for budget purposes, or
Yeah.
if you were a huge fanboy, because they just did not have the same processing power. And I know this from experience, because my first PC build ever was an AMD processor. I used a Black Edition quad core, was like their primo back when I built my first PC.
Yeah, I
And
went from
I felt the pain of like shadows on games was chugging my system, and it was just so sad.
yeah,
It's
I
actually
went from
interesting.
a Core 2 quad to a 6-core AMD, and it was for running multiple things, it was okay. It did fairly well in multitasking, but for gaming, man, that thing chugged. It was bad. And then I got a 7990 video card, which I spent way too much money on,
Yeah,
and
yeah, you
the
did.
CPU is just such a huge bottleneck for that.
Yep.
That's the dual GPU card.
Yeah, that was the $1,000 dual GPU card to fight against the NVIDIA 690.
I had a
But
pair
it
of
came with 8
660s
free
on my
games,
PC.
so it was a much better value.
Free games. Well, the other crazy thing to this new Ryzen, the 4000 series, that's even more confusing to throw another wrench into everything. So you've got your 3, 5, and 7s with the G and the GE tags for your wattage, and then you have the Pro series, which is the same thing, right? It's just instead of an even number like 4300, now it's 4350 G or GE,
Yep.
or 4650, and it's a Pro series, and it's like, well, what the hell's the difference?
And honestly, the base specs don't even look different. You're still looking at 4 to 8 thread count, 3.5 gigahertz, turboing up to 4.
It's
If you
like
look
with
at everything, like there is no difference. There is
Right.
zero difference in the specs that they have listed out. So I don't understand why you'd buy a Pro over a regular, unless there's some hidden advantage that's not being shown on the spec comparison.
Could be like AMD's version of hyper-threading comes with the Pro.
Maybe.
I think, I think there is a certain degree of like marketing there that
One of those chips.
they want to confuse people a little bit. And I don't agree with it. Like, I think they should be more in. They should put more on the front, like, page of, say, you're looking at this chip. I want to find more about it. They should have like a more layman style listing to say, all right, this is, if your interests are this, then this processor line is good for you, or if this is what you're looking to get out of it, this, and then have that section with the nitty gritty details of your of that processor, so that even if it's this series is good for this and this series is good for this, all right, now which processors, I'm super, I'm intent on getting the best processor for myself. What are the nitty gritty details within that scope of processor line?
I think that would be very smart to do, but at the same time, I don't think the companies want to do that.
No,
because
yeah.
then it would streamline the process. People would not just impulse buy the best one, that most expensive one, because it's the most
Right.
expensive, it has to be the best, when it may not be the best for the thing that they're wanting to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the comparison sites. I can't think of the site that it's called. Habs, you probably know what it is. The way you can pick parts, and the benchmarking site where it benchmarks the parts versus each other.
CPU
Oh, yeah,
box and GPU box, and then
Maybe.
Let me see.
But I
user
use that
benchmark.
user benchmark, that one.
Yeah,
Where it actually
user
gives you.
benchmark's huge.
I love using sites like that just to compare. Okay, this is
Kinda
what it
get a
looks like.
general idea.
why am I paying $500 more for this item? Is it actually giving me the performance? And lately, when you compare AMD
Yeah.
to Intel stuff, it's not, right? Intel's more expensive, but it's not giving you the same performance that the AMD stuff is. But I think what it really comes down to is, as of right now, do your research, right?
Yeah.
Before you buy and build, do your research.
Yep.
And companies, maybe there should be maybe a third party company that maybe picks up on that marketing aspect of,
Yeah.
hey, this is all we do. All we do is you tell us what you want, and we find the best thing for that
Yeah.
build. And I think that would be a very
Be-
profitable business,
Yeah.
but it'd also be very
Yeah.
time consuming.
Yeah.
The
But
only thing that I can think of, like what the difference between these two CPU families are, the Pro versus the non-Pro, is the Pro might be binned, meaning they're pre-tested and guaranteed to turbo more consistently.
Well, that could be.
But that's really like all the other specs. The thread count's the same.
Everything is the same.
Everything is the same. So the only thing I can think of is it's better silicon. So you're getting.
Well, the other thing is marketing based. So like, hey, this says Pro, so if you don't do your research on it, you're gonna think, oh man, it says Pro, this is gonna be better.
Well, it's just
when
like
in
putting X in
actuality-
the title of anything.
Yes.
X is the most expensive letter. It
I mean-
costs hundreds of dollars per X you put in a product.
I mean, the when it comes to marketing, like, it can also have a negative effect in the aspect of not being so clear, because there,
Confusion.
yeah, it creates confusion to the point where somebody is like, oh, I don't understand the difference between those two. Why am I paying more for this one and less for this one? I'm gonna go for the cheaper one. And now you're selling more cheaper ones. Yeah, you could be selling more cheaper ones, but that's because a base of people don't understand what it's talking about.
Yeah, but most of those companies, the way they think is, I'm going to put out a cheaper product and a more expensive product in hopes that people will buy the more expensive product. But if all I do is sell a boatload of cheaper products, I'm still making
Yeah.
money. And
This
that's
is
really
true.
all they care about.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's an overall consumer issue. We need to be harder on these companies. We need to bring these issues to light. And I'm hoping, with the craziness of the world, things that happened, PC parts got really hard to get, and I'm really hoping that that's pushing manufacturers and the companies like AMD and Intel to understand that their market is expanding. With all the work from home, with all the people that are picking up gaming as a hobby and PC stuff as a hobby, their PC world is expanding to people that are less knowledgeable in these areas, and they need to make things more adaptable and more make them easier for consumers to consume, because they're going to make a lot more money by putting it out easier to understand marketing, because if they can explain the difference, then the average Joe PC builder that's just doing it for a hobby now knows the difference of this $300 and $500 CPU, and is more apt to pick up the more expensive one if it's what he needs.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
there's a lot of people right now, because of the absence in the stock of pre-built machines, are going through and they're building computers because having computers built for them, because number one, they think, well, oh, the pre-built machines are all sold out at Best Buy, but I can go on their website and buy all the parts, for a decent machine that
Tutorials out there showing me how to put it together.
yeah.
As long as it's not The Verge, I think it was. Don't follow that one. That one was.
Oof.
But or don't follow the one.
Gamers Nexus, Jay's 2 Cents. They've all got great ones.
Well, except the Linus one where they built it in every wrong way that you possibly could build a computer.
Yeah,
But at least they called out that one was the worst.
Yes.
Don't do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
They also just did a cardboard build, which is way better.
That
than
was actually cool.
The Verge.
The cardboard build that Linus and what's his name? Anyway, the one that they did where it was it's all one sheet but it then folded together.
Yep.
That
Oh
was
jeez.
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Watch.
Yeah,
Linus
the one
cheated, but
Yes, but in reality, who doesn't have tape?
Right.
It's one of those things that got real hard to get, I
You know,
guess.
all he did was repurpose
Well, no, no.
something for something else.
My favorite part was he was like, "Oh, we got this iFixit kit. We have these little dolly things in the iFixit kit. We're gonna reinforce using these."
Yeah, that was good.
But I think again, what it comes
You can
down
only
to,
use what you were given. That's
Yep.
what they
Yeah.
said.
there you go.
But it was really impressive, like how intelligent they are to be able to figure out how to cut and fold a box so it actually does what you want it to do.
Yeah, it's
Like-
it's just geometry.
Yeah,
Good
I'm
mind
not that smart.
exercise.
Mm-mm.
But I think so. I think it comes back down to we as a consumer base need to put more pressure on the companies to not put out these products that I'm pointing out on my other monitor. Of here's 12 of basically the exact same thing, right? There's 6 of each, and
Having
what's the
options.
difference?
Having
Right.
options, great. Having duplicate options with one more expensive,
Yeah.
Not good, unless you can explain why.
yeah, unless you can give a good explanation to why, an easy to understand explanation
So,
as to
Yeah.
so
why.
here's
Yes.
my theory about this 4000 stuff that they had. They did so well with the Ryzen Zen 2 series that they had all this extra leftover silicon, and they were like, "We need to do something with it." Voila.
Yeah, no, that's actually exactly what it is. That's not. They
So
they had a run on Zen 2.
Yep.
Extended production, and that would be my guess, and that's
Yeah.
the only one that makes sense. Is
Just like how they just put out the XT series. Extra silicon, they were able to pre-overclock it before shipping it out. Boom,
Yep.
you can charge an extra $100 for that.
Yep.
Although they technically didn't, they set the price to be identical to the current gen. It's all the retail sites that have increased the price.
naturally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have an answer to everyone's question now about the Pro Series difference, by the
Yep.
way.
Okay.
Consider the Pro editions for businesses. Basically, it falls under AMD's Pro Technologies feature set with additional security, manageability, business-ready pillars, including full memory encryption, support for dash management, OS image stability over 18 months, guaranteed processor availability for 24 months, and enhanced QA.
That makes sense.
So it's basically for
A more
businesses.
stable chip. It's a more stable.
Yeah.
chip. More stable chip.
Which
Also
also means
with-
it's probably a bit more expensive, but
With
at least there's a business reason behind it. So this is like separating, okay, here's your consumer, and then the Pro is like your business comparison.
the professional series.
Yes. So that's cool. And I do like that they have mentioned that they are going to be putting out a consumer version for the 4000 series. It's and that the 4000 series for the consumer version will be compatible with the 500 series motherboards. So at least like they've given some information on it, but as of right now, their initial launch, of course, is those pre-builts only. Which I mean, I kind of get it, I guess, because you want to say, okay, well, we're putting together a full package for you. Here's the performance. Let's see how the chips do in a pre-built, like a pre-built environment, and see how popular they are, how much people actually want them, and let us develop, the full consumer version at a later date when we know exactly how stable the content is. And I get it, but man, it's frustrating.
Yep.
Because if you want it for your board, you're just gonna have to buy a whole computer and take it out, then repurpose the whole computer.
Well, that's actually one of the things I watched in one of those videos that I sent you, Hickey, is be careful. The 4000 series hasn't officially launched for consumer purchases, so there could be people out there that buy these pre-builds, pop these chips out, resell the
And
chips.
then resell them.
Yep. So make sure you know exactly what you're looking to buy before you
Yes.
buy one of these lesser chips that you think are going to be Zen 3 that aren't.
Yeah.
And, and that's why I'm annoyed that they're using the 4000, because they've announced that Zen 3 is being launched this year, which everybody would think would be the 4000 series, but now you've released these 4000 APUs
You always
on
got to
Zen
be
2
careful with that
architecture.
because Intel's done that too. Intel's released a previous nanometer generation chip under a current generation.
Yeah, but we haven't had to worry about that for 6 years with Intel because it's all been 14 nanometer.
I'm just saying, you should always be sure of what you're purchasing.
Yes.
Again, it comes down to do your
Oh, yeah.
research
Yeah.
and understand that as of right now, 4000 series is not launched for consumer purchase. So if you see one being sold by itself, do not buy it.
Yes.
So, in other big news, I think most people know, but good old Microsoft, you know, they released their Halo Infinite trailer. The memes are pretty strong. It's pretty solid, but you know, as I was reading, or not reading, but watching this morning a video that was posted in one of our chat groups by somebody who was reviewing it. I was super excited. I was kind of annoyed. Now I'm more annoyed than excited for it at this point. Just
And what would the it be?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Halo Infinite. Yeah, so like the reason I'm getting more annoyed with is just by the way that it sounds like the story is going to go based off of the Q&A with a few of the prolific YouTubers for Halo. It sounds like it almost sounds like they're doing what Disney did to Star Wars right now. Is trying to create a whole new Halo for a new generation, but somehow like mildly tie it back into, you know, the story that we're all used to, like the one through, you know, CE through Halo 5, like, and even Halo 5.
I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, I have zero. Like, I knew there had to been there was something to do with Locke and a whole group of them. I don't know, but
5 is not part of the Halo universe. Let's just we're just gonna that game doesn't exist. It's not. Oof.
I can't get over the fact that Chief had to beat the shit out of Locke because Locke thought he could go toe to toe with Chief.
Yeah.
Well,
Chief was holding back there, bud. He could have killed you.
Yep.
But you know, in general, it sound from the way that video sounded, based off of the Q&A session, I am not as hopeful for this story. I was hoping for more of a heavy story tie-in, and that's why I play Halo.
Well, we really don't know.
But you know, we really don't know. But that, I don't know. Did you guys watch that video?
I have not.
I haven't watched it yet. I got up about an hour before this, and I was messing with printers. So that's most of my days now.
So basically, it really expands on, it really expands upon what their thought process was behind all of it.
I'll have to watch it.
And because of there was I guess from the video, the guy that runs that YouTube channel, basically, like, he got, you know, invited to a Q&A session with a couple of the top producers, and it just, like I said, it sounds like the answers that they were giving sounds like I said, they're doing what Disney did to Star Wars, a Halo that is for a new generation that yes, it's using the same cast of characters, but it's not really going to be super tied into anything else.
One of the things that I loved about all the Halos, even up into Halo 5, was the relationship between Chief and Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
It was both business, and then it turned into being more for her than it was for him.
Yep.
Which is an interesting aspect when it comes to she's an AI.
Yep.
She should just be completely disconnected, but she ended up caring deeply. And I have a suspicion that it's something to do with the fact that she's a clone of Halsey's brain.
Well, yeah.
You also have to tie in rampancy to it. How much rampancy affected it?
Right, and part of the rampancy, but I think it all stems back to her being a clone of Halsey. She chose Chief because even though Halsey didn't really like to admit it, he was her favorite. And John stood out to Cortana for the same reason it stood out to Halsey, and why she was so shocked when Cortana chose John.
That good old luck factor.
Yeah.
I thought so. The original concept for Halo Infinite, was that not to create like an ever-expanding story in game?
It is an it's supposed to be the next 10 years of Halo, meaning new content is released over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have to, like, it's all should be self-contained inside Infinite, right? There's no...
It's all going to be part of Infinite, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I can expansions and DLC on Infinite.
I can see maybe starting off with the launch being not closely tied in, right? They're trying to expand the world. They're giving you a whole new thing to follow, a new world. Maybe it is for the new generations. At this point, they need to bring in new generations to continue the franchise. So I get that. But I'm hoping down the road they can tie back into the original story more. Maybe they're going to bring in more aspects of what happens between missions, like when you're playing Reach, right? Maybe they bring in aspects of what was going on with Chief at that point that you can play, or maybe you follow other Spartan teams during those events. Who knows? But I'm hoping that they do bring it back, because Halo 5 ended with a cliffhanger. Like,
yeah,
we need to finish that story. That story needs to be finished, and I'm hoping it does.
So one of the things that one of my hopes is that the initial release of Infinite, even if it's light on story, has a solid gameplay loop, a solid replayable gameplay loop. And if it has that Halo feel in a solid repeatable loop, it's going to have legs. But if they fail to make that gameplay loop strong, it's going to fall flat within a year.
Yeah.
They need to focus on gameplay if they're planning on making this a 10-year ever-expanding game. So I can understand why the launch might be light on story and not tied in very well. I can understand that. So if they make it fun, if they make it not freaking Call of Duty in space, I'll be happy. But that's my issue with like Halo 4 and Halo 5. The multiplayer was just straight up Call of Duty in a Halo world, and that doesn't interest me. I played Halo for certain reasons.
So it was nice, and they were talking in that video about the aspect of they were talking about the aspect of the multiplayer, and like, for example, like, you know, the grappling hook and different of the power-ups. They said it's going to be a mesh between the power armor, or the armor power-ups, and the grabbables of Halo 3 and Halo 5. That it's going to be kind of a combination of those two, and like, I guess to what that video said, and my understanding is, say that like in multiplayer, the grappling hook is not going to be something you load into the game with. It is going to be placeable on the map, so people fight to it to get it, versus
power weapon. It'll be considered a power weapon, which makes sense, or a power equipment.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I need to step away for a minute.
Go right ahead.
All right. Yeah.
I was going to bring up something about the books, and I have since forgot which book it was and what I was going to bring up. The Where was I? He mentioned that. Now I'm gone.
Um, so the grappling hook being a power up is where you were. But so while you think on that,
Yeah,
Simmons,
I'm going to think on that.
at some point they need to curb the development of introducing new power ups and things like that, because if they're designing it for console, which
Yeah.
they should be designing it for console specifically, because that's always been a console game.
Mm-hmm.
PC has always been something that's a second factor for the Halo franchise.
Yeah.
I would love them to develop it for PC, but it's in its core it is a console game. So
The great part
here,
about the current.
there are only so many buttons, right?
This is true.
There's still the same number of buttons on that controller as this controller.
Yeah.
Right. So unless they're going to develop new controllers that have more buttons,
Except this controller. The controller actually has 2 more buttons.
no, it
Does
has
it?
less.
No, it's the same number.
Oh wait,
same
yeah,
number.
no, that's
Yeah.
the brick. That's the Duke, right?
Yep, I have those 2
Yeah,
buttons
okay.
and
That's
then
got
the
2
2
more
triggers.
buttons.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
So those are the white and black were replaced by the
No,
bumper.
no, no.
Yeah.
That's that controller that he has is specifically called the Duke,
Yeah.
and it has triggers.
Oh,
Trigger
it has
And
it
white
has
and black
bumpers.
buttons.
It has
Yeah.
bumpers.
Yeah.
Yeah, bumpers and white and black. So
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a replica of the old Xbox original.
Except the Xbox original didn't have the bumpers.
yes.
Right, but they added the bumpers to the Xbox original, and it's called the Duke because it
Yes.
has it all.
I
It's a great
realized
controller.
They added parts to it.
Yeah, it's a great controller. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's the brick reborn.
yeah.
The
And-
only thing
and for
that
my
they would
big
have to
meat
do
hooks,
is, like,
It's
instead
nice.
of using the bumpers for like actual direct actions, the only way you could get more buttons is have them be modifiers. So you hit this and then X, and you get something different than if you hit it alone, kind of
Which
thing. And
so Final Fantasy XIV does that for their console stuff, right? They have the hot cross triggers where you can
Yep.
use the bumpers to change it, but that would not work well in a first-person shooter competitive environment. It's too much delay, right?
it's
It's insane to think if you're playing an action-based first-person shooter in the
that's
heat of the
why a
moment,
lot of them become contextual.
boom. Yeah, it wouldn't work. So at some point they need to curb this. Like they're really cool ideas, right? They're really cool ideas to have in the story mode. Have a cool grappling hook. But a grappling hook doesn't belong in PvP. Like that it doesn't belong in the multiplayer
Like-
aspect.
I do like being able to throw fusion cores. at things.
Yes, I
was
like
gonna
that
say, the
aspect.
best meme
I'm a
that I've
fucking-
seen so far.
I'm a super soldier, okay? I can I can flip a tank. Why can't I grab the fusion core and throw it at someone?
Yeah.
And
My favorite meme so far is Halo Infinite sucks, the graphics are unfinished, and it has SPR. Are you even listening to me? Master Chief says, I'm gonna yeet a fusion coil into a grunt. It's my favorite meme so far. It's great. But like, yeah.
So like they were saying in the video I watched that that the AI even uses the sandbox in the same form and fashion as the player would. So like they were showing where that brute threw that grunt with the 2 grenades, tossed them in the air.
I thought he
Yes.
went off like a man cannon. I didn't realize it was a brute through a grunt.
No, it was a brute that
Oh, that's
threw.
fantastic.
He tossed him, and somebody asks, like, what happens if you were to grapple that grunt in the air like that? And basically they
die.
said no. Basically what they said was you would meet that grunt in the air at 15 feet up, just as it happened.
That's great.
So
So I think things like that are super good for the single player or the co-op story mission,
Yes.
but they don't belong in multiplayer games, right? Those are fun things to have. They're not they really the balancing of PvP around something like a grappling hook is going to be so difficult. They're going to run into the same issues that World of Warcraft and League of Legends and Dota 2 and all of these other competitive PvP games have with balancing their game. Things are going to be either too strong and abused in a solo environment for the campaign, and speedrunners are going to abuse it. They're going to abuse everything
Yeah.
anyway, but you have to think of how is this thing abusable
Yeah.
in the campaign, or it's going to be too strong or too weak in a PvP aspect that either it's going to control the flow of the game and the entire game will be around getting to this specific object, or it's going to be so lackluster that nobody goes for it. It's never going to be used, right? And so they need to develop these things for that campaign experience, but the PvP experience really should get back to the Halo 2, maybe even the Halo 3 days, where it's really just about your skill with a little bit of added stuff, your power weapons, your bubble shields, things like that that made the PvP experience based off of your skill and understanding of the game versus how strong said item is.
Right.
So
Grab that
EMP
guy
ball
messaged Dad back
It's
about that
going-
carburetor, I guess between 10 and 11
is
fine.
gonna.
What's
you
that?
Throw this EMP
That
ball,
guy,
Oh,
and you can
okay.
you can take
the
that ghost
carburetor
that's
thing?
charging
Yeah.
So I'll tell
and
Dad.
basically make
Oh.
it uncontrollable.
All right.
And then you can board it or what have you. And it was the use of that equipment in Halo 3. Oh, you have a bubble shield. I can't shoot you with the tank from this distance, but I can definitely roll the Wraith in and punch right through it. So
yeah. So those things, those added new skill levels and understandings of the game to the game that made it really good. But something like a grappling hook, which just, I mean, you're taking the idea of a man cannon and you're expanding it exponentially to be usable for the entire map. I mean, the implications of that are a little bit insane, and I think it just adds too much of a focal point to. Okay, if you have people that are really good, you know, back in my prime, I was a sniper main. I mean, I would pick up the sniper rifle on any map and just control everything. So then you suddenly have people that are good like that will just be like, okay, well, everyone's gonna run for this because this is the hot thing. This is the thing that you have to have. I'm just gonna sit here and pick people off as they go for it.
right, bait. Use its bait.
Yeah.
And then the gameplay loop becomes not fun because the gameplay loop is, well, we either have to try and go through his team to get to him when they're controlling the key points around this person, or we just have to funnel out and try and pick up this cool item that we need to win the game and hope that he doesn't kill all of us all at once. And suddenly the loop is Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And again, this is Halo,
Yeah.
not Call of Duty, not Counter-Strike, not, you know, you play Halo to go out there and 4v4 team fight or 1v8 team, like just have fun. And it's starting to become too much like other genre games and not what it used to be, not itself. It's no longer defining itself separately from these other games, and it's going to have a problem there if they continue to do that.
Yeah.
Concerned about what they're gonna do with Sprint, because again,
Sprint should never have been added. I
Well-
hate Sprint.
it makes sense, except I'm a genetically engineered super soldier that can run, and it's shown in the books many times for almost days on end without actually being fatigued.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
they covered, I think, in one of the books, they covered like a 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer distance at pace, at that sprint pace, and were still fresh when they reached the city. It's like, okay, at that point, a Spartan would move slow in combat if there's enemies around, because you draw more attention the faster you move.
Yeah.
But if they need to cover a distance, they can run at 30 kilometers, 60 kilometers an hour, roughly 30 miles an hour,
Yep.
constantly.
So they should
for-
implement something like they have in Division, right, where your sprint is permanently activatable, but you can't shoot while you're sprinting, right? So they would do the same thing with
Yeah.
Halo. Okay, I have a sprint button. If they're gonna have sprint in the game, I have a sprint button and I can use it, but I can't do anything during the sprint action except jump. As soon as I do another action, I'm no longer sprinting.
See, I
There's
would
no
agree with
sprint
that.
bar.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
just there.
You just snap out, and it takes a moment for you to pull your weapon back up, which
Exactly.
makes sense. And then, because you're gonna,
I would say maybe you could throw a grenade, but the act of throwing the grenade would take you out of the sprint animation at the same time.
so, but, and I can
That's what they need to do.
limiting sprint in multiplayer,
No.
for balance reasons. I can understand
The
it.
balance is you can't do anything.
But you
right?
can't do
That's the
anything when
balance.
sprint activates right now.
I know,
Yeah.
but the unbalance of that is you only have it for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So that's why I think it's just
Yeah.
terrible. A terrible
Genetically
perk.
engineered super soldier out of breath after 3 seconds of sprinting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to balance it. I don't think it needs to be limited. I mean, sprint it's nothing more than convenience. I want to get over there, and I have nothing else to do right now, so I'm going to get over there a little bit faster. And that
I
adds a new level of tactician pieces too, because you have to understand how fast can the group get over there with no obstacles.
Right.
I think an infinite sprint would be okay. I don't think there'd be an issue. I wouldn't have an issue with it.
I wouldn't even care if it was. I don't even care if it's limited. Just make it longer than 3 seconds. You know.
Yeah, something 10 seconds or something, and as soon as you let go of it, it starts recharging right away. Like there's just no
Yeah.
reason to have delays on it. I do like the meme there, Halo Infinite Sprint. I like that. That was good.
I can only hope.
Yeah, there's a lot of hopeful things you have to consider. That the health of the Halo franchise.
No, I don't like. I didn't. The graphics people were complaining. Well, it looks like a game from 2000. They really took that back to Halo thing literally. Blah
Dad
blah
said
blah
give him a
blah
holler at 10:30.
What?
Dad said give him a holler at 10:30.
Okay.
blah blah. And I'm like, I don't care what it looks like. It needs to play like Halo.
Yeah, exactly.
They can fix the graphics later on. They can do all of that, but if they're this close to release and that core gameplay loop is not at least nearly fleshed out, that's where the game is going to suffer.
Yeah.
And I think that's more so what they were trying to display with the demo, was the actual gameplay, not necessarily what it looks like. And a lot of people are focusing on the quality of the textures and everything being awful, when that's not even the point.
And who knows? The tech demo could be 6 months old, right? The tech demo could just be sitting around waiting.
They did say it was a very, very rough version of the game.
Oh yeah, in that
Where
video.
the game is currently, but it was playable. and that's
Yeah,
why they played it.
in that.
Oh, he was in God mode, by the way. Too.
In that
There was
video,
2 instances where he should have died.
I'm gonna link that video in.
Your shields would go down, but his health wouldn't.
Nice.
I'm gonna link this video in chat, and then I'll just because that video somebody did ask, and it was like from months ago that it was set up months ago that they were going to do that, like do the whole tech demo, right? And then and then the build of it was from even earlier. So like, yeah, it was just it was just a working demo that they had. Like it was like, I guess from what it sounds like it was like I said, it was a couple months ago that they decided that they're like, all right, we're gonna do a demo for this, a gameplay demo, and then it's going to be from a working build that was from months prior to that. And on top of to top it all off, they were saying that it was run on a PC that was of similar specs to the newest generation of Xbox. So
dog trash. Sorry, I don't mean to poop all over the console players.
No.
Consoles have their place. I think consoles are great for those that don't want or don't have time for PC stuff, or just prefer to play on the couch and don't want to, you know, commit to a whole bunch of stuff. Consoles have their place.
Yeah.
But
we're nearly out of time, and we're not even like, I wanted to talk about Avowed and what we know about Avowed.
All right, let's talk about it. We got
I haven't seen anything on it, so
yeah, I haven't.
So it was one of the games that they showed at the showcase.
I haven't had a chance to watch it.
It is being made by Obsidian. It seems to be a very similar title to Elder Scrolls. It seems to be Obsidian's response to Elder Scrolls. the trailer is mostly you're following an arrow, but right at the end, you see the character pull out a sword that has runes inscribed all across the blade that light up when he pulls it out, and then he draws a rune in the air, and he has magic on his other hand. So it seems to be following like a royal bloodline that has taken vows and yeah is power worth this, that kind of thing. And it's going to be taking place in Aurea, which seems to be from another franchise or another game, and I can't remember the name of the title at the moment. But they seem to be connected in some way, and this is a game that's been out for a little while. So if it looks to be just a single player RPG, in the vein of Elder Scrolls, and we don't know much about it at the moment, but it looks awesome. I'll play any fantasy RPG for the most part.
True. I need to watch the showcase because I've heard some cool things about it, but I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. And but I will also say that unpopular opinion here, but I've never gotten huge into the Elder Scrolls games.
I mean, not unpopular opinion. I played them and I was like, all right, it's good. It's not great. It's good.
I haven't liked an Elder Scrolls game since Daggerfall.
Oof.
The only Elder Scrolls game I had enough patience to sit through and actually beat was Oblivion. I like 2/3 of the way through the Skyrim story, and that was just after it came out. And it still sits there.
Yeah.
For me, I think the first-person aspect of the Elder Scrolls series, what it's become, is not.
Well,
it doesn't work for me.
out.
It doesn't just. Well, the whole first-person thing just doesn't work for me as a core gameplay for fantasy games. Bless you, goodness.
Thank you.
I don't know. I feel like I don't play the fantasy games to feel like I'm the one doing the thing, right? I play it for the story around the character that I just happen to be controlling. And for some reason, I find it more immersion breaking to be in that first person aspect.
Like a Dragon
So,
Age or something like that.
yeah, I much prefer the Dragon Age stuff. And the
Or
Dragon
Witcher.
Age games are fantastic games, but and the Witcher games, of course, stand on their own. But for me, I guess maybe it's just because I've played more of those. But when I think first person, I think shooters. And I don't know. I don't get into it as much for the fantasy aspect. I don't doubt that they're good games, but I just can't play through them because I'm not enjoying them. Because
That's
I
fair.
just
We all have our tastes.
So-
we all have our tastes. Yes, your tastes are wrong, but it's fine.
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I can't be perfect at everything, right? I have to have some flaws. Hey, it had to be said.
It did. It did have to be said.
But I will say that the Skyrim series obviously is the Skyrim series, the Elder Scrolls series is very popular, and I understand why. I'm sure that they're great games, but I'm hoping that Avowed sounds really cool. I'm hoping it's not first person because then I'll just have to kind of pass on it just based off of that. I'll give it a try, but
I think it is first person from what I
oh
saw.
man, I'll have to give it a shot. Maybe the gameplay will be better for it, but I don't know. The whole swinging a sword in first person is just, I don't know. It's weird.
Deliverance did it well.
Deliverance did it well. What was the other one?
Very well, actually, in my opinion.
Dark Messiah of Might and Magic did it very well too.
Ooh, Might and Magic games.
Yeah, that's an old one right
those
there.
are
I just kinda
old
named it
games.
myself.
Hey, I've played the Might and Magic games too.
Okay.
But
I don't know.
there's a problem with the later Elder Scrolls titles like Oblivion and Skyrim, where the only way to play the game to any satisfactory way in combat is to use a bow or magic, to where you never have to engage in melee.
Exactly,
the
and that
melee
just kind of kills it. It just kills it, right? Like your game, half of your game doesn't work right.
Right, and
And I don't know if that's a limitation of the first person thing, or if Bethesda
It's
just
not.
can't get
it's
it
not a
right.
limitation because, like I said, Kingdom Come Deliverance um, has a very adaptive style. So it's attack from above, attack from below, left, right, and then the stab. Okay, thrust. And it's kind of For Honor-ish in that you can block almost anything if you just are blocking at the time. But if you time it right and are in the right segment of the area of the reticule,
Right.
you will actually do a perfect block. And if you time it perfectly, like a perfect block, you can actually counter. You'll get a counter attack. So where like you bind up their weapon and you punch them in the face, kind of thing.
Nice.
And it's once you get used to it, it's very intuitive because a lot of this is just done by timing your block right.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if the Elder Scrolls series, if their issue is that they are overcompensating for bows and magic and their power, and ergo melee just becomes trash because it cannot compete with those.
no,
No, it's just bad. They just don't know how to
it's
design
bad.
it. Okay. Yeah, see, I was trying to throw him a bone, but yeah, that shows exactly how little of the Elder
What's
Scrolls
happening,
series I've.
Jalopy?
Because even if right from the beginning you spec yourself as heavy as possible into melee, you really are gonna have a hell of a time killing anything.
That's unfortunate.
And,
But
and sneaking is the other thing that kind of breaks it because if you go the sneaking route and you have a dagger, you'll get 3x damage from sneaking, and then if you're wielding a dagger, you can get 15x. So
seems good.
you can do 45 times damage with a dagger if you sneak up to someone.
But if you don't, you're rolling that D4. Let's go, D4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where's my
your
pea
40
shooter at?
Here's your 45 d4s. The enemy turns around. Oh, you get one.
Yeah. And it's a 18 AC to hit, and you have -5. Goodness.
Speaking of
You're hurting yourself.
of dice roll mechanics,
Owie! Why aren't you dying?
I
Owie!
I don't. I know that 3 of the 4 of us here are going to be doing a D&D session. I don't know exactly when we're starting, but I've gotten my character sort of started.
Excited. I'm super excited. I'm playing something really unconventional.
I want to sit down. Maybe I don't know Hickey, if you or Habs or anybody have like a little time later on this afternoon into the evening. I'd like to try to flesh out that character a little bit more, but I've a little bit of help there because I've pretty much, I think I've got him built for the most part. I want a outside perspective on how things work and magic wise, that I'm not 100% sure on because I don't play magic characters all that much.
Magic's a little weird, so
Yeah.
I can go over that with you. I've played a
Yeah.
lot more magic stuff. I will say that yeah, I'm really excited for your character's idea. I don't know if Habs knows what it is.
Nope.
But
Alright.
so there. Do you mind if I explain it a bit there, Parker?
Yeah, you can 100 explain it.
Treat
There.
it like your house.
Alright. So in the D&D world, there is an elf only specific class. So it's designed for elves only.
Okay.
It's called a blade singer, and it's a melee
Eldar.
wizard. It's a melee wizard.
Eldar.
So
Sounds like a banshee.
sure, we can take this to Warhammer terms. It's fine.
I'm always gonna take it to Warhammer turns.
I
Continue.
figured. So I know his original idea was he wanted to play a fighter that was smart, right? A smart fighter. But putting points into intelligence as a fighter kind of gimps yourself with your strength, dex, and con rolls and stuff. So in working with our DM found a way to for our world, granted we're going to be playing in the world of Eberron, but it is going to be partially homebrewed stuff. So he lifted the elf only restriction for blade singers and has allowed Mr. Rex over here to play a turtle. A turtle blade singer. Because turtles have a natural AC of, I think, 17. And if they hide in their shell, because they're turtles, it boosts it by like 5. And then if you use the shield spell, it boosts it by another 5. You can be really tanky, right? So he's a giant turtle.
He's a ninja turtle.
Basically.
Using a sword and spells and singing and like
He's a
a
ninja
melee.
turtle.
Yeah, but well, to an extent, none of
Yes.
the turtles use magic here, so
Yeah.
we're taking a little stretch there. But
Yeah.
yes, he's basically a singing magic ninja turtle.
I liked to equate it to, if you've ever seen the Kung Fu Panda, where the master turtle guy that's this that is
We'll have to timestamp that.
yeah the
We'll have to timestamp Simmons digging his nose hair out for the YouTube viewers.
if so,
Redneck Ninja Turtle.
yes,
There you go.
yeah, they're yeah,
Yes.
fantastic.
So that's the concept, Haps, is that we're gonna have a melee singing turtle with us.
I don't know if 100% if he'll actually sing, but you know, maybe rhyme a bit.
He'll be doing a little bit of
my
bar
only
spinning.
retort to that is I hope you guys like tambourines.
Tambourine again. Oh man. Okay. All right. We'll give you the tambourine. We'll give you the tambourine. Oh, I'm excited. So
Yeah.
I'm playing a gnome wizard.
A Geo.
Yeah, a little tiny gnome wizard. And I'm excited because it's unconventional for me. I'm usually playing. I'm kind of an aesthetic person. I'm very much about my aesthetics, so I'm usually playing a pretty race, right? A human or an elf, half elf, something that's considered aesthetic. For me.
Pleasing.
Yes, for me specifically. So playing a gnome is gonna be weird, and I'm looking forward to it.
So I asked the DM. I was like, so can I use magic to like you know how I don't think it's what's the magic spell where you climb the rope and you go into like another dimension?
Rope
All
trick.
right, that is rope trick. All right, so I asked, is there a possible way that I could pull this into like a cartoon realm aspect of rope trick into my, and then inside my shell there's like a nice studio apartment. And
Your shell is basically rope trick.
yes, he told me no.
Yeah. So the thing with our DM is that he's very obviously traditional to the world of D&D. However, he's also very traditional to the rule of cool. So if you can figure out a spell that will make something work a way that you want it to work within the rules of D&D, then he'll typically let it happen. So, you know, for example, if you want to do the thing that you're doing that you want it to do, you have to be a way to make it happen. So the rope trick just kind of gives you an extra dimensional space with whatever amenities that you need to make it comfortable for an hour. Because it's all it's for is for an hour rest.
Yeah.
So, but if you say, I want to make this rock do this thing, then he'll ask you, okay, what spell and how are you gonna use that spell to do it? So what I would say is, as you make your character, as you pick up new spells, really read the spells and understand what they can do, their limitations, and think about how you want to use them for the aspect of your character. And in your character specifically, spell casting is not going to be your primary damage dealing for the most part. As we get higher level spells, it will become that, because spell casting scales pretty crazy. But I would say that think about how you want your character to be. Think about what you want to achieve with your character and pick your spells based off of that. And understand that my character
Mm-hmm.
is not going to do damage,
Yeah.
right? I'm literally just going to be a CC bot on everything. If things work out, nothing will do anything. It's going to be great because things aren't going to work out. But like, there's a specific wizard school called the Enchanter Wizard, and
Mhm.
their level 2 ability is they just kind of walk over to something, and as long as they can see or hear you,
Mhm.
if they fail their roll, they only get one roll. If they fail it, I just control them. They just can't do anything until I let them do something. That's it.
That's
It's just like, you're mine now. Okay, do something else. And the great part about it is it doesn't take concentration, which means I can do another spell as a bonus action. Now, every
Mhm.
turn it takes my action. So my action is I'm going to keep this guy controlled.
Yeah.
But I'll have bonus action spells that can do other things because this thing doesn't require concentration. It's just my action.
Gotcha.
So what I could do is I could, maybe
very
one turn.
psycherish. I don't like it.
I can like one turn I can cast a sleet storm and have a 40-yard blanket of difficult terrain that they have to every time they move through it they have to make a roll or fall prone, and then the next turn I can walk up to the first person that walks out of the sleet storm and be like, okay, now you're mine.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like that's the type of playstyle I'm going for. So I'll be looking at spells that do control and utility stuff. You're wanting to be in the front line, so I'd look
Yeah.
at defensive spells or offensive spells for range if you can't get to them,
Yeah.
things like that. But then think unconventionally of how can I
Yeah.
make this spell work for this thing that I want
Yeah.
to do?
Like
Because if you can make it work, he'll let you do it.
I have a lot of cantrips. So I was when I was looking through them, I was really thinking along the lines of what is going to be a good, distraction so I can hit and yeah, like
No.
what spells can I use as that that will be distracting so that look at this hand while I hit you with this hand.
Minor illusion.
Yeah. So
Minor illusion
mean-
is going to be a big one.
so I have a lot of cantrips that I picked out like that, but obviously, like I said, later on today, if possible, have you kind of help me through it. So
Yeah, I can look at
Thought
that.
of trying to make a psyker work in D&D for 40k. Like figure out the spells and figure out how the spell would have to work for a psyker to actually exist in D&D. That would be
Does that mean you want to
Gaze, man.
join?
yeah,
Wednesday nights, let's go.
Yeah.
we'll see. If I can figure it out and if he'd approve me being a psyker.
Just gotta talk to him.
Again,
Yeah.
if you can make it work, talk to
Yeah.
him. Be like, hey, this is what I want to do, and he can tell you. Like that's what I did with mine, and what Rex
Yeah.
did with his. Rex said, this is what I want to do, and he went back and said, okay. He and I were actually talking about my character, and I told him what you wanted to do, and he was like, he went quiet for about 10 minutes, and he came back and said, I know what I can give Rex to appease what he's wanting to do.
I know, I can kind of make this happen.
That's the thing is our current DM is very good at taking your ideas and fleshing them out within the game to make them work. So
Mhm.
if you're interested in joining and doing that, just talk to him.
Yeah.
It's Gore. You can just ask Gore, hey, this is what I want to do.
Oh,
Can
I
I
know
join you
Gore.
guys?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows
Gore's gonna be our
40K
DM.
too.
yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you
Yeah.
want to join and play that, talk with him. It could be exciting. So, I do kind of want to. Goodness gracious, Jalopy. I want to shift this a little bit as we kind of wind down
Yeah.
to. This didn't happen in the last week, but it happened at the beginning of the month, and it was pretty cool. It's a little bit different as far as like it's not in the tech world necessarily,
Oh,
but it's
no,
definitely with
how dare you?
it's definitely within the greater Nerdscape, which is exciting.
Linked scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Is everyone familiar with the Cassini probe?
Yes,
Not entirely, but
I know of it. I should say.
So I'll give a little bit of background. So the Cassini probe launched in 1997, so it's been around for a long time.
Older
Yep.
than me.
Um,
Got it.
Oof. Its designed and its intent was to study specifically Saturn and its surrounding moons.
Okay.
So this is a Saturn exploration, essentially. In 2004, it actually landed on um, Enceladus, the largest moon of Saturn. And so it's taken, gosh, they started looking at the first photos that were sent back in like 2000, early 2000s. So it took years to get the data that's sent back after it got there. They've just started looking at some of the data that's been recorded, and they have found that off of Enceladus, there are giant plumes of ice that are jetting out hundreds of miles into space. And so when they started looking at these, they found that Enceladus had a full ocean made mostly of water.
Geologically active.
It very much so. The water has organic materials like carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen specifically. It's got hydrogen particles. I know everyone says, "Oh, hydrogen is part of H2O, water, and all that stuff," but this is specific, separate hydrogen particles. And what they determined was that based off of the Enceladus's gravitational pull, there was no way that it could have trapped any passing molecules. The gravity on that moon is so low that it would not have pulled and trapped any molecules in it. So they've determined that it is actively like creating hydrogen and jettisoning it into space, and at a rate that it may have been doing this for up to like 1,000,000 years. For the last 1,000,000 years, generating and jettisoning these ice shards into space.
Makes you wonder if there's life under that ice sheet.
Yeah. So that's what they're
Especially
speculating
liquid
is
water, because we know
Yes.
liquid water is a key factor to life.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're thinking as the amount that has been jettisoned into space in the last 1,000,000 years, anything that the Cassini probe would have picked up would have been long expired if it was just generated initially and then never again.
Right.
So that's where they're like, okay, well, this is how we can prove that it's actively creating these things. So it's kind of a really crazy idea that there's possibly microorganisms that are producing things like hydrogen and methane on a moon as far out as Saturn. Like there's potential life. Granted, it's not life as we know it, but it is.
Life is life.
It's life, right? And supported that far out, something as cold as Saturn.
Yeah.
I mean,
that actually shows the power of geological, like tectonic movement, like how much the fact that it can maintain liquid water that far away from our heat source, our primary heat source.
Yep.
And continue to function. The Earth would actually continue to function for a while under its own heat generation, even if the sun went away. For at least a couple years before the surface completely froze and became uninhabitable. And then if we moved underground, we'd have enough heat in the planet to continue to survive underground.
we would become dwarves.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Or the lizard people. I mean, we'd probably have to fight the lizard people for territory, but,
Oh, man. So one of the things that they're thinking, one of these microorganisms, they're calling it a methanogen. Methanogen basically consumes carbon dioxide and hydrogen and produces methane gas. So there's this just really cool idea that potentially at one point in the past or possibly in the future, maybe heavier life forms were or can be supported on, I mean, it's a moon.
Yeah.
It's not a planet, but it's a moon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a potential moon base operation, right?
Yeah.
It's got water. It has liquid water, a vast ocean of majority water. Like, that's kind of crazy to think. I know that they found similar things on Pluto, way under the ice crust. There was some pockets of water, but this is like a full ocean. And I mean,
well, it's like
Yep.
It also has a lot of liquid water.
Yeah, but does Titan have just a? I don't remember if it's just they found like again pockets, like a lot of pockets
No,
of
it's
water,
full
or
ocean, I
it's
think.
full ocean. Yeah, okay. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've looked into Titan, but like, it's kind of crazy to think that, maybe a planet such as like a gas giant like Saturn would be able to support something like water in a way that, again, the planet itself can't because
Yeah.
obviously it's a gas planet, but the moon of a gas planet. And something like Saturn could be pretty easily protected from a lot of things with its rings, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just kind of a cool idea to think that as probably
Saturn's largest moon.
what
Is Saturn's largest moon. What was the one you were talking about?
this is Enceladus.
Enceladus.
Sorry, yeah. So Titan, you're right. I misread the thing. So Titan, Saturn is covered in thick, hazy atmosphere, but the Hudgens probe revealed. Okay, it's just one of their other moons, Enceladus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Still, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So this is actually that's what it mentioned. Sorry, is that I totally missed the word Titan right here. Saturn's largest moon is covered in a thick, hazy atmosphere, but the Hudgens probe revealed rivers, lakes, and seas on its surface. As Cassini toured Saturn, it discovered jets of icy particles being released from another one of Saturn's moons, Enceladus. So it's kind of crazy that Saturn's moons are actively producing life.
That's,
So Titan has a water-based silicate rock core, kind of, surrounded by a shell of water ice, and specifically a type of ice 6, which is extremely high pressures and ice surrounded by a layer of salty water. So Titan does have salty water.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
well,
You have
guys.
this just gas giant out there floating, and its moons are like, yep, we're just gonna support life.
Parker's got to bounce.
Yeah. So, I would.
Has to bounce.
Yeah. I will. I'd say we'll call it there. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch you again in a couple of weeks. Hopefully it won't be delayed. Considering I'm hoping to move here within a week or so. So
Hopefully next weekend we'll get him moved into his new house.
yeah. So
And if you're following on YouTube, don't forget to, if you like what you like, just go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell,
Hit that one
all
too.
that fun stuff.
yep. Don't forget to
and
share
we'll put-
either.
Yeah, and we'll put the links. We shared the links in chat, Rex.
Yep.
Don't forget to put those in the description. They'll be down there for the things we've discussed today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah,
All right. Awesome, everyone. Thanks again.
peace.
Peace.
Peace.